Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 925 of NoDQ&A video, on the road to 1,000 episodes. Thank you all for checking out today's video and supporting NoDQ&A video. If this is your first time watching, my name is Aaron Rift. I run NoDQ.com. I've been doing these Q&A videos now since August 2011. If you enjoyed today's video, please do me a favor, share it on Facebook or Twitter or any social media site. Tell a friend about NoDQ&A video. With that being said, let's get down to your questions today. All right, the first question for episode number 925 comes from Dylan. Hey Aaron, now that it seems likely, I think you're trying to say, what are your thoughts on John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice? I really don't have that much of a problem with it. I think that Undertaker versus John Cena would have been a more ideal match for Cena at WrestleMania. And it's funny how Cena even referenced Undertaker during SmackDown. I think that that would have been the more marketable match, but we'll see what happens after Fastlane, and if Roman Reigns versus Undertaker, if that's the match that WWE is going to do, we'll see if that ends up being a historic match in WWE. Time will tell. We'll see how things play out for WrestleMania, and it's hard to say right now if going with the mixed tag team match is the right decision. But if Roman Reigns and Undertaker is an all-time classic and Roman Reigns is able to be elevated from that match, then maybe I'll say that doing the mixed tag team match was the right decision. If Roman Reigns as a babyface beats Undertaker and the fans are pissed off about it, then I might say WWE should have gone with Cena and Undertaker. It's really hard to say right now. But now that we're on the topic of Roman Reigns, John Cena, and WrestleMania, I wanted to announce my WrestleMania stipulation for this year. Last year I said if Zack Ryder won the IC title ladder match, I would shave my head bald. And as it turned out, Zack Ryder won. I shaved my head. I put it on video. This year, if Roman Reigns or John Cena turns heel, and this has to be a full-fledged heel turn where it's clear as day it's a heel turn, then I will dye my hair pink, and I will keep it pink for an entire week. I will also do NoDQ&A video with pink hair. I will not wear a hat or anything covering the top of my head. So that is my official stipulation for WrestleMania 33. An official heel turn from either Roman Reigns or John Cena. This one comes from Daniel Jobber. So Aaron, do you think John Cena would see this tag match with Nikki at WrestleMania 33 as a negative or maybe the highlight of his career? Your thoughts? It depends on what they do. There's been a lot of speculation that maybe this is going to be Nikki's last match in WWE, or maybe John Cena will propose to Nikki in the ring. That has been something that people are speculating on. If that does happen, for John Cena on a personal level, that could be the biggest moment of his career and his life in general, proposing to Nikki in front of the world. That would be huge if that was to happen. No doubt that would be a big WrestleMania moment. Now, if they're just doing a tag match and there's not much else to it, it's just filler for John Cena, just something for him to do at WrestleMania, then I doubt it's going to go down as one of his all-time greatest moments. So it depends on what's going to happen with Cena and Nikki, and if in fact there's going to be some sort of proposal or something big going down with Cena and Nikki. Or a heel turn, but that I'm not counting on. This one comes from Eternal Heel. WTF, what was going on with that ungrateful dead crowd on Raw? Triple H and Rollins and Strowman-Roman feuds were amazing. It was just a lousy crowd. I mean, Green Day... Did I just say Green Day? I meant Green Bay. Green Bay, Wisconsin has never been considered to be one of WWE's top cities. And it wasn't a huge crowd. There were definitely a lot of empty seats, and there were even photos of that. I think SmackDown actually outdrew Raw by several thousand fans, and that doesn't happen too often. But anyways, yeah, it wasn't the best crowd, and they were pretty quiet, and when they did make noise, it wasn't positive. They were chanting CM Punk when Seth Rollins was doing his promo, and that was pretty disrespectful because Seth Rollins really got hurt. And the smart fans that were chanting this, they would know this. They would know that Rollins is really hurt. It's just very disrespectful to chant that at Seth Rollins when you know the guy's really hurt. And when he's out there, yes, it's part of a storyline, but also he's channeling his real feelings out there. You know, the frustrations about possibly missing WrestleMania and getting hurt right before WrestleMania. He's got to be really frustrated about this. And then for the fans to chant that, yeah, I mean, to me, that was the worst part about Raw, was the CM Punk chants. I mean, I'm all for chanting CM Punk when there's a bad storyline and chanting it at Triple H or Stephanie when they're doing one of their long-winded promos, but in this case, it was completely unwarranted in my opinion. So yeah, I would say it was just a bad Raw crowd, and unfortunately, most of the people were quiet, and the guys that were just looking to chant whatever, they were able to get their voices heard. This one comes from Interstate Kyle. Good old Interstate Kyle. Hey Aaron, do you think that was the weakest go-home show to a pay-per-view? I thought it sucked and it was boring. That's the other thing too. I mean, not just the fact that it was a bad crowd, but the quality of the show, with a few exceptions. In that previous question, you know, I thought the Seth Rollins Triple H segment was really well done. I thought Rollins did a good job, and I thought Triple H was amazing with his promo. And also the segment with Roman Reigns and Strowman, even though it was the tired, lame-ass contract signing segment, I did like the ending part where Strowman threw Reigns into the turnbuckle and the turnbuckle pad collapsed onto the ground. I thought that was really cool. Now, the rest of the show felt like filler, and to me that's what it was. I was not all that excited about Fastlane when Raw was over. I felt that it was just a show with a lot of filler and a few highlights in between, and perhaps that hurt the crowd. But the thing is, the crowd was dead from the beginning. Even when Goldberg's music hit, it didn't seem like there was much of a reaction, and they did not react to much of anything on the show. So even from the beginning, it was rough. But then again, the first hour was pretty rough itself. This one comes from Chris. With the Hardys potentially returning to WWE, would you have them go for the titles right away? Yeah, I would definitely take advantage of the Hardys' popularity right now, and I would strike the iron when it's hot. I would put the Hardy Boys against Anderson and Gallows at WrestleMania, if it was my decision. I think you should capitalize on the Hardy Boys and how successful they've been on their own, doing the Broken Hardys gimmick, and milk it for all it's worth. Do what WWE does best and push the Hardys. I mean, I would definitely push the Hardys stronger than the Dudleys. The Hardys, I think, could have a really solid final run in WWE. Give them a solid year to really go through the tag teams, fight with Anderson and Gallows, feud with the New Day, and maybe even go to SmackDown at some point and face some of those teams. You can get a lot of quality matches with the Hardy Boys having a WWE comeback run. Would it be too soon for them to win the titles? I mean, some would argue that they should be chasing the titles for a while, but I would say just strike the iron when it's hot. If they're a hot act, you know, the people are going to be into them. It doesn't matter to me, and I don't think it would matter to the fans that much if they won the titles right away, as long as they have some interesting opponents to go up against and the Hardys are allowed to do their thing and not wear out their welcome. This one comes from Draven G. If the Hardys are coming back to WWE, will the rest of House Hardy come along? That's an interesting question. As I talked about in previous videos, I think that if and when the Hardy Boys come back to WWE, they will be a hybrid of what they were before in WWE and what they've been in TNA and the Indies with the Broken Hardys gimmick. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle, but I would be surprised if they went as far as to do the Vanguard 1 stuff and Senor Benjamin and all that, and Rebby's obviously very busy with her family, her growing family. So my guess is it'll just be Matt and Jeff. And WWE will use elements of the Broken Hardys gimmick, but also focus on their past run in WWE and really emphasize the old school WWE Hardy Boys that they used to be, and mix those two gimmicks together to form something new when they make their comeback. I should say when, because I think it will happen. I'm almost positive. If I had to make a bet on it, I'd say we see the Hardy Boys back in the WWE, and to me, now is the time. This one comes from Larby. Are Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley feuding? How about a Team Foley versus Team Stephanie match at WrestleMania? If Mick Foley loses, he's no longer the GM. That's an interesting match. It's not something that has been rumored for WrestleMania, but I like it in the sense that it would serve a storyline purpose, and it would serve the WWE purpose of getting a lot of guys on the pay-per-view, and we all know how WWE is about that. You know, it does kind of remind me of what they did with Team Johnny versus Team Teddy several years ago, but I think it would be an interesting way to write off Mick Foley, where it's Stephanie versus Mick Foley, and the loser has to step down from their position. I really like that idea. I think WWE should do it for WrestleMania, and maybe even have Sami Zayn captain Foley's team, and Stephanie could maybe have Braun Strowman if Strowman's not in the Battle Royal, or maybe somebody else. A lot of guys could step into that role and perhaps get the rub being Stephanie's team captain. I definitely like the idea, and if I was WWE, I would consider doing it. Foley loses, and then the next night on Raw, Foley, as his last act, brings in Kurt Angle as his replacement. How about that? This one comes from Truth versus Society. Interesting name right there. Is it me, or is the Wyatt family rivalry boring? Luke is so talented and deserves to be repackaged and shaved. And he is a first-time asker. I thought so because of that name. I think that the storyline has been entertaining overall, but I will say that if Luke Harper is going to be on his own and he's not going to be involved at WrestleMania, and that appears to be the case now, he's not going to be in the WWE title match, then I would consider giving him a makeover, maybe cutting his hair or giving him new attire or changing something up so he can develop his own identity separate from being part of the Wyatt family. I would definitely consider doing that. I think that that would be a good idea, and then give him a renewed push on his own. Sort of like what they did with Braun Strowman. With Strowman, they gave him a new haircut and changed his attire and changed his demeanor a little bit, and it's worked really well for him so far. I would definitely consider doing the same with Harper. Next question comes from I've Got Kids 33. Which characters are due for a face/heel turn in your opinion? Well, we got the obvious guys, the Roman Reigns, the John Cenas. I mentioned earlier, if one of them officially turns heel at WrestleMania, I will dye my hair pink for an entire week. But other guys, you know, I've talked about Ambrose for the longest time, although now I feel like the ship has sailed on that. I think there was a perfect opportunity with James Ellsworth. I hate what they're doing with Ellsworth now. He's just feels like such a waste, and I feel that character has run its course. They did turn Ziggler heel, but that's been disappointing. And looking at some of the other guys, I think Apollo Crews. I mean, he's a guy that I think desperately needs a heel turn, or at least some sort of change in direction. The smiling, happy-go-lucky babyface character isn't working, and they're even referencing it on TV, referencing the fact that Crews is always smiling. They need to change something with him, because what's going on right now is not working, and I expect it to happen soon, but Sasha Banks going heel, I think, is something that should definitely happen soon, and those would be the top ones for now, but I'm sure there's other ones that I can think of. And go ahead and leave a comment on the YouTube channel in the comment section. Who do you think is due for a face or heel turn right now in WWE, besides the obvious Roman Reigns and John Cena answers? This one comes from Braden. How interested are you in the new look Usos and the feud with American Alpha? I think that it could actually be an entertaining match at WrestleMania. I think the Usos on Talking Smack the other week, and when they did that promo, as silly as that promo was, I like the fact that it felt like an old school 80s promo. I miss those kind of promos where the guys are yelling and screaming, and half of what they say you have no idea what they're talking about. You wonder if these guys are on drugs. I mean, I miss that old style of promo that was just very over the top and ridiculous. And I liked it. It showed some character from the Usos. So I think this feud definitely has some potential, and maybe it could be built up strong enough to be featured at WrestleMania instead of just throwing all the teams together in some random match. So we'll see. I think, it sucked that there was no real follow-up this week on SmackDown, but hopefully next week, when the build to WrestleMania really kicks into high gear, we'll see this storyline evolve, and the Usos will get to do more stuff where they can showcase their personalities. And speaking of the Usos, from I'm not even sure how to pronounce this one, so I'm not even going to try. Ember something. Are the Usos still heels? It wasn't really clear in the latest episode of SmackDown. And you're talking about last week's SmackDown. Yeah, on Talking Smack in particular, it was really confusing because you had Renee Young and Daniel Bryan talking about how they would like to party with the Usos, and to me that was really weird. If the Usos are supposed to be these diabolical heels, you have Bryan saying he would love to party with these guys. I mean, he should be afraid of these guys. So to me, that's the one little issue I have with the Usos, but I definitely like the fact that they're showing more personality. They also need to show the vicious side of them as well, and make themselves feared and make people feel like these guys are very dangerous. So that's the one thing I would like to see at this point. This one comes from I Say Whatever 666. I believe this is Beast Slayer with a new name. Why does WWE pay Brock Lesnar so much money just to appear in dark segments? Put him in matches. Here's the thing with Brock Lesnar. They signed him to a new deal a while back, and part of that new deal was working more dates, which is why Brock Lesnar is appearing unadvertised. He's appearing advertised to the live crowd, but not on television. The reason for this is I think WWE wants to protect Lesnar as a special attraction. And if he's a weekly character, then he'll lose some of that name value, I think. Part of the appeal to Brock Lesnar is you only see him once in a while. And this is kind of like the old school mentality from the 80s, where Hulk Hogan would not be on television every week. You would only see Hulk Hogan at the big shows and every once in a while. And that made him special because you didn't see him constantly. I think that's the thought process with guys like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg and The Rock and the other part-timers. When you do see them, it's something special because they are not seen that often. So I think that's the mentality, and WWE already signed him to a deal for a certain amount of money, and they're just going to use Lesnar for the live events and hopefully boost live event attendance with Lesnar at those shows. I'm not sure how effective that's been, but that is the idea at least. This one comes from Javier Reyes. Asuka is advertised for the live SmackDown event at Madison Square Garden. Is she coming up to the main roster soon? Probably. I think it's getting close to time. I could see her being the next female superstar to get called up, maybe after WrestleMania, maybe the night after WrestleMania, maybe they'll wait a few more months. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of top female talent to replace her. She's pretty much carrying the women's division. I'd really like to see WWE sign a few more female talents. I've talked about Candice LeRae being one of those names. Get a few more high-profile female stars there in NXT. But yeah, Asuka should definitely get her shot on the main roster. And, I could see it happening fairly soon. But you have to keep in mind that WWE called up a lot of women over the past 2 years. Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and these women are being focused on right now. So you don't want to call up Asuka too quick and then either have her get lost in the shuffle or get one of those other women lost in the shuffle. It's all about timing. Picking the right time to call her up. I think it's got to be pretty soon, though. Alright, this next one comes from Sean T. Flick. What are your thoughts on Drew McIntyre possibly coming back to WWE, putting over Tyler Bate at TakeOver, and then going to SmackDown to feud with Baron Corbin? I really don't think we will see Drew McIntyre come back and put over Tyler Bate. I think that if Drew comes back, it'll be under his own terms for the right amount of money and the right push. I don't think he's desperate to go back to WWE. He even said in a recent interview that when he was 21, 22 years old, it was his dream to work for WWE. But now it's about business. And for the first time in his life, he can really call his own shots. He can have control over his career and make a good living doing his own thing. I think if we see him back, it will be if WWE is willing to give him a big push. I don't see him coming back and being like Jinder Mahal and being there just to put over other guys. I think that he'll want to get a significant push in WWE. So, you know, even though Tyler Bate's the UK champion, he's pretty far down on the WWE scale. I mean, he's not one of the bigger stars in the company. He's, you know, down here. And I think Drew McIntyre would want to be up here or even higher, as high as humanly possible. That's just my gut feeling, at least. This one comes from Suplex City 909. Beth Phoenix going into the Hall of Fame before Chyna. Is WWE trolling the fans? Your thoughts? I think it's just WWE wanting to induct a female superstar, and let's face it, it could very well be due to politics, not wanting to induct Chyna. Maybe it will happen at some point, but I think that WWE, if they were going to do it, this would have been the year to do it. Maybe they want to wait another year or two. I don't know, but it's just weird because with Beth Phoenix, they talked about all of her accomplishments, and without her, there wouldn't be Charlotte and Becky and the Women's Revolution, yada, 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 but without Chyna, would there be a Beth Phoenix? That's a great question. I feel Chyna should have gone in first, but as I've said before, it is what it is. And Beth Phoenix is married to Edge. She's got a lot of friends in WWE. And I'm not taking anything away from Beth Phoenix. I think she's very talented. She had a great run in WWE. I just feel Chyna should have gone in first. And I do feel politics perhaps played somewhat of a role in her going in before Chyna, at least. This one comes from Daniel Jobber. Do you think Naomi's hurt through WrestleMania 33, or that they'll have her win the title back at WrestleMania? Let us know if you hear anything. Last I heard, it's very iffy if she's going to be back for WrestleMania. She had a similar issue with her injury, similar to Seth Rollins, and right now I think that if she can come back for WrestleMania, I think they're going to move forward with other plans. I mean, it's not like Seth Rollins and Triple H. That was a match that was going to be one of the main events of WrestleMania. Naomi, she's not at that level of Triple H and Seth Rollins. I don't think they're going to bother investing her into a one-on-one WrestleMania match. Now, if they decide to do some sort of six-pack challenge, maybe they'll add Naomi to it at the last minute if she's cleared to go. That's a possibility, but I don't know. I think they're going to go with other plans. They're going to move forward without Naomi, and they're going to go with the idea that she's not going to be back for WrestleMania. But we'll see. We'll see how things plan out. You know, it's not like Seth Rollins and Triple H where they had this long thing planned out. You know, whatever they have planned for the SmackDown's women's title, I'm sure that could change between now and right before WrestleMania. This one comes from Jimmer. I'm trying to go to WrestleMania 34. Do you have any tips on packages like access and show tickets and when to buy them? Maybe some people watching this can leave a comment about their experiences. I know that with the travel packages, I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. With the travel packages, it's basically done for convenience. If you want to not have to bother buying all the tickets separately, you do the travel package. But it's more money. It's going to cost you more. What I did for WrestleMania 31 is I just went on StubHub and bought the tickets a few weeks before the show. WrestleMania, there's always going to be tickets available on StubHub. I actually got tickets off of Ticketmaster, really good seats for WrestleMania 31 a few weeks before the show. I would just be patient. You know, there's no rush with WrestleMania. And even with the Hall of Fame and Raw, there's tickets available on StubHub and the prices drop as the events get closer. With the Hall of Fame, prices actually went below face value. There were scalpers that were struggling to sell tickets for WrestleMania 31, and with Raw it was a little bit more expensive, but still it was a pretty good value just going on StubHub and getting tickets at the last minute. So it just depends, you know. I like to plan things out in advance, but in this case I figured, you know, based off of WrestleMania 30 and from what I heard, you know, I could just get the tickets at any point off of StubHub or even Ticketmaster. So don't panic, you know, just take your time and look for the best deals. That's all I can say about that. Alright, last one for episode number 925 from Mr. Panda 316. Hey Aaron, in your opinion, what was John Cena's best feud during his Dr. Thuganomics gimmick run? I liked the feud with Kurt Angle. I liked that moment when Kurt Angle came out and did the freestyle against John Cena and had the referee doing the beatbox. I just felt that Cena and Angle worked really well together. That was one of my favorites. And then I think, even though I wasn't a fan of JBL's title run and I wasn't a fan of WrestleMania, I did enjoy the JBL Cena feud. I did think the Judgment Day match they had was a lot better than the WrestleMania match, and that match is actually, in my opinion, very underrated. Probably JBL's best match. If I had to name my favorite JBL match, I think that would be it. Judgment Day 2005. In my opinion, really underrated match. So I'll give JBL his credit on that one. But yeah, I would say Angle number 1, JBL number 2. That'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Again, please spread the word about No DQ&A video. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Make sure you check out the other videos, the Fastlane predictions, as well as Talk Wrestling, No DQ Live, Power of Pain with David Payne, and all that good stuff. Quick picks with Greg Cherry. Stay tuned this weekend after Fastlane. We'll have our review video up on youtube.com/AaronRiffNoDQ. Subscribe if you haven't already. And on that note, I will see you guys next time for episode number 926.